All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's been a while since we chatted. Welcome. Another episode of Propping Up on the Gold Boys Network, brought to you by both Pickett and Boom Fantasy. So thank you to both of them. We missed you Monday. We were physically and mentally in a bad state, so it was best that we didn't talk out loud that day. So we're back. I'm totally over what happened this weekend, and it's just hockey now. So I'm totally not still thinking about Sunday at all. How you doing, Walla?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's good to just be back to looking at hockey stuff. So last night was pretty fun. Had some nice plays. Came ahead positive. So hoping to just keep that going today.
I almost Hampus Lindholm. What a man! There is just nothing better than your guy getting a shot with 3 seconds left in the game to cover his line. Man, what a swing!
That was really big. Needed that one, and yeah, it was a stressful game, but that's a hell of a way to cash it. It sucked the whole game, but that was amazing right at the end.
I know. I was really frustrated that clearly Dallas has become a very good defenseman target because every single Bruins defenseman had 2, 3 shots pretty early on, besides our guy, but he eventually got there. So we'll keep that in the back of the head next time Dallas hits the ice.
Definitely.
All right. So tonight, yeah, it's been a solid week so far. We got 6 games tonight. I think they all look pretty inviting. I think I have a play that touches all 6 of them. So might as well not waste any time and jump into them. First one being Chicago and Toronto. I mean, one of those games when if you looked at the schedule yesterday, be like, okay, I bet Toronto found shots. So that belief certainly remains. Sounds like Austin Matthews is back. He hasn't played since January 25th. So obviously that's where the eye went. A lot of guys on Toronto. I mean, they could all hit their shots against a team like Chicago, especially Chicago playing on a back-to-back here. Uh, Personally, I liked Mitch Marner's shots. His attempts have been very solid lately. And I just really went off history versus the Blackhawks. He's had 3 shots in 7 straight and 14 in his last two, 7 in each of those. So that's where I went. But I think there's a lot of interesting options here. I know you're considering Riley.
Yeah, I've been playing him. He was at the 1.5 line for a while this season. He wasn't really. I think last season we came to expect the 2.5 line. He was good for us on a few runs last year, but he was kind of slow to start this year. He's been getting over that 2.5 line. It's not super consistent. He kind of bounces back and forth a lot when he hitting it and then going under. So it can be really stressful. I mean, he has like a 0 shot game and then a 3 shot game, 1 shot game. So it bounces back and forth. But he has looked pretty good lately. Some nice volume. I guess the thing that's making me hesitant is just Matthews back in the lineup. Riley did hit in some games with Matthews in the lineup, but the last 2 games, his volume was like really nice. And I imagine that's going to be affected in some way. I mean, he had 13 shots the last 2 games. If he can get that volume, I really like the spot though for plus money. He's hit against Chicago before. That was you like seeing a nice history there. Chicago's overall, not a bad target. I guess against defensemen they might have been tightening up a bit, but seeing him at plus money, if he can get that volume, I really do like it. You just got to keep in mind Matthews is coming back in, and he wasn't there the last 2 games, so that's where I'm hesitant. But you brought up his point, which I think before the show you brought it up. I think that looks pretty good for Riley actually. He's scored a couple recently, so you see him shooting and getting some goals, but he can also get assists as a defenseman, and with Matthews back, I think that just makes his point look even better. Minus 136 seems like a pretty solid price.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely expect Toronto to find at minimum 3 goals, but I'd say 3 to 5 range seems pretty safe, especially if you just look back on how they've done against Chicago last couple of years. But yeah, I definitely liked. I mean, I just like when you see defenders shooting a lot, looking to maybe that translating to a point because there is so many ways it can happen, whether it's a deflection or a goal or they're just moving the puck. Um, and Riley against Chicago, he's got a point. He has 8 points in his last 6 games against Chicago. He's also hit his shots in 7 straight. So very involved on both facets, but I liked his point. Just might be a little juiced. Might have to pair it with something. But that is on my list today. And
Yeah.
to your point about Matthews being back, it's been very hit or miss. Like when a guy comes back, does he shoot immediately? Does he take a warm up game? But if you poke around props.cash, it's kind of an easy way you can visualize how things were going. Last 5 games when Matthews was in the lineup, he covered his shots 4 times. You can click around and easily see people's ranges. Let me just throw some things out there. If anyone's taking notes, in the last 5 games with Matthews, Tavares hit 3 times, Nylander hit 4 times, Riley hit 3 times, and that's really the noteworthy ones. So certainly
Okay.
still hitting, and at home, someone like Nylander, he's at pretty reasonable odds. So just because Matthews is out there, obviously people are still shooting the puck. So
Yeah, I think, and I always, the plus money definitely is calling me. I've been trying to find a lot of those plus money shot plays, and yeah, no, he could definitely hit. He's shown that. Um, there's only really like one other time this season where he had back-to-back games with volume like up around 6-7 shots. And I was just saying, it was Matthews was out the last two, and you saw, is that gonna be a consistent thing or not? But I do still like it at the price against this opponent, with this history. But he looks, yeah, I think he could be involved in with the shooting or this, but the point I think really stands out with Matthews in too. I mean, that only helps.
yeah, if you like betting goals, I think Nylander and Tavares both have a really nice history there.
Oof. Oh
Tavares is
man,
very interesting to me. He's got 7 goals in 6 games for Chicago since joining Toronto. Goal in 5 of those. So
Riley's got 2 power play points in his last three. I mean, I know it's not a lot for the season, but not an awful spot if they can get on the power play. If he can just, pass it around a bit, he's plus 280 there for a power play point. Just it's interesting in this matchup. I mean, Marner's plus 100, and he's got a power play point in 5 straight games. So I imagine they'll get something done there. They look good for some scoring tonight.
crazy. Yeah, they do. Did not look at Chicago at all. Don't plan to. I don't think we even need to talk about them. I think they're going to get dominated.
Yeah.
Why don't we move to the next one here? Next one I'm seeing is Tampa, Arizona. I definitely think this is an interesting one. I know this is the first play you put in. It's one of the first I did as well. I definitely think Arizona can find some offense here, shots and maybe some goals as well. I mean, Tampa, they're letting up about 34 per game on the road. Ryan Elliott will be in net. They're fresh off just an absolute shot fest against Colorado that went to a shootout. So you have to think maybe they are a little looser, and they've already been pretty loose. So I definitely think there's some value on the Arizona end for shots and maybe even some points or a team total or something.
Yeah, uh, I definitely agree. I mean, Hayton, I started playing him a few games back. Just there was just a really clear jump in his shot attempts, and I think some of that might have to do with Chikrin was a healthy scratch one night, which when he's not on the power play, that opens up shots for other guys. Um, and I know Hayton's volume has been up a little bit, so I think this is a good spot. He didn't come through for me last game against Nashville, but I think back on home ice, Tampa's not been scary target. So this looks great to me. I think he can have his chances. He's been shooting at home. Um, power play probably get some chances in there as well. So I'm totally fine going back to him, especially plus money.
Yeah, he had 3 against Tampa as well on New Year's Eve. Um, yeah, I'm jumping on the Hayton train finally. It's funny, I've been watching you and a lot of other people cash him, and I just kind of felt like, I don't know, I feel like I missed the train. I can't jump on now, but now it feels like just a beautiful time now that he went under against such a juicy opponent. So many people are going to give up on him probably, but how many times do we say just trust the bounce back? Um, and in this spot, with 3 straight hits at home, nice volume. Now is my time to jump on the Hayden train for the first time. So hopefully he delivers.
Yeah,
Uh,
it makes sense though. Yeah, I think a lot of people just see Tampa and might want to just pass up in general, just as like face value looking at them. Think they're a tougher team, but they can give up shots. And there's not really too many people on the Coyotes who are doing all the shooting. So Hayton's in a good spot.
I was considering his point as well, which best odds I saw were minus 104. He's got 6 points in his last 7. With Keller, that the Keller line's been producing a lot of goals. He's got 4 in his last 3 at home, and he's had a point in both games against Tampa, or his last 2. So I went for his shots just because the price at Barstool was crazy, but I did not hate his point at all.
Yeah, it's been looking a lot better lately, way more involved, and you gotta like that he was able to get a couple points against Tampa already. So some experience there.
On the other end, I mean, obviously Arizona's a great shot target. Um, I wasn't really in love with anyone on Tampa. I mean, they've got there's a power play edge here where Tampa should get some power play chances, so that would certainly benefit someone like Stamkos or Kucherov. And then Coyotes are a great defenseman target too, and Hedman's been rolling. But I don't know, as I was clicking through either their road charts or just history against Arizona, I just wasn't feeling that special feeling about any of these guys. And when I don't feel that, I just stay away. I'd probably go Hedman. It's just such a bummer. He does not hit 3 shots against Arizona ever, which is it's just a bummer because he's over in 6 of his last 7 games.
Yeah, and on the road, he's been looking really good on the road recently. If you bring up that road chart over his last 10, 7 of his last 10. But yeah, you usually when we see the Coyotes, then we look at the other team and look at the defenseman. We usually chart like pops up and it's just like, oh, they have big games against the Coyotes. But yeah, he hasn't been able to hit that line against them, but it on paper looks like a good spot today, and he's been hitting um not just 3 shots, he's got 5 and 4 a couple times in here. So I'm looking at it that way, it's kind of tempting. Just sucks that the history there.
yeah. Um, yeah, I don't think I'm going to play anything on the Tampa end. To be honest, I'm a little worried that maybe they're just a little tired after a big win last night. So, and I just feel like I always lose shot props against Arizona when it's like a really great team on the other end. Um, maybe they look past them or I don't know what, but I'm going to just stay off them tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think if they can get the power play chances, I think Braden Point can get a goal in this one. I know he's better at better at home, but when you just look at his chart overall, he doesn't really, he doesn't go too many games in a row without getting on the score sheet there, and he does have a couple goals against Arizona. And with that power play edge, I would think it would be could be him in this one, but I'm not crazy about anything really.
All right, let's keep it moving. Um, Detroit and Edmonton is the next one I see. My initial take on this, just by looking at numbers, is I liked Edmonton for shots. Detroit's they've been a little tight to shots lately, but when I see an offense like Edmonton's, averaging 36 shots per game at home, it doesn't really matter where they are. They've been shooting the puck. I'm just going to lean towards the offense, dictating the pace more than Detroit being able to slow them down. So I had no hesitation to start digging into the Oilers side. And I also kind of like goals on both ends. I was considering maybe the over, uh, which is hitting two straight matchups here. Um, I guess I'll start. I like the Vander Kane shots mostly because of his home production has been awesome. His last 10 games, he's averaging almost 5 shots on goal per game on 8.4 attempts. So love that volume. Love that he was plus 106. He's had some nice history against Detroit. I believe he's gone over 3.5 in 5 of his last 7. He's also got 3 goals in his last 2, if you're into that kind of thing. And with that, he's scored 4 times in his last 5 games. So, yeah, I don't hate you looking there, but I went his shots. That was my preferred look here.
Yeah. So I just want to bring up in chat AO. I think he said point is at 199 goals. So if that, if he's going, this would be a nice spot to get that milestone if he's going for goal 200. I know Rantanen was.
Yeah, he's still going. We'll get to Randon. I think little 200 goal parlay,
I
couple
was
days
just about
after
to
the
say, I
milestone.
think I might parlay point and Rantanen now for this small bet on goal parlay on them. I already, yeah, point, like I said, he's better at home, but I just think the matchup is nice for him after a couple of games without one. And yeah, you're going to talk about Rantanen a bit later, but that's some milestones there for those guys. That's interesting. But back to this game, um, Edmonton side does look nice. I do like that Evander Kane angle. I mean, McDavid, he's been really solid at home. Been hitting his shots a lot, but again, just another thing. If you put a lot of weight into history, he doesn't. He's not hitting that 4 shots against Detroit too often. Um, I'm interested on the other side. I know Edmonton's tightened up at home with shots. Larkin's just going crazy with shots, and whether I like his shots or not, I think his point looks awesome here. I mean, if you think there's going to be goals, uh, and
Yeah,
you
it
think
does.
Detroit's going to get some, I might end up using Larkin here. We'll talk about a player later, Tuck on Buffalo, who I was kind of interested in, but it was a little juiced. I'm liking Larkin point here. That could be a good parlay piece too. He's just on fire right now. I mean, last game, I didn't I didn't get anything substantial on it, but I was in chat and I was just like, man, Larkin's just flying around out there. He had like a shot on goal, it's like block shot, miss shot, then another shot on goal, and I was just like, he's definitely like, I was like, he's going crazy, he's gonna score, and like a minute or two later, he scored. I just think right now he's got trying to get contract and stuff, so he's really just showing out. I think his point is a really good parlay piece today.
Yeah, that definitely stood out. Yeah, I mean, he's shooting like crazy. And the point, no matter how you split it up overall on the road versus Edmonton, definitely looked good. I was interested sticking with points on the Detroit end. Mo Sider has been on my radar the last couple games. I keep writing him down, not playing him, and he keeps getting points. He's got a point in 4 straight now, and he's got 8 points in his last 6 games. And he has a point in 3 straight
Yeah.
against Edmonton, which is, I believe, all 3 career games he's had against the Oilers. He's plus 115 for a point. That's definitely on my radar. I might put a half unit on that. I mean, even on the road, he's got a point in 4 of his last 6. So,
Yeah, that's yeah, I think that's a good pivot too if you don't want to do a parlay. If you don't want to get into a two-legger and use Larkin, I think I think that's a good part, a pivot right there. They're involved. I think one of the last games you were talking about him, and I was like, oh yeah, and I like Larkin too. That was it. I think it was that goal. Just the game started and he scored, and it was both of them on that one goal, tallying a point. So yeah, that's a really nice look for plus money. Could with how Larkin's shooting and producing, all he needs is just to pass it around a bit and end up on the score sheet. So So yeah, it's a good look, Cider.
I will know. I mean, it'd be a little greedy considering point is plus 115, but basically all of Sider's points are assists, which is plus 155. He only has 3 goals this year. All he has 10 points in his last 10 games. All of them have been assists, no goals. It's funny. I mentioned how I liked Riley Point because he's been shooting more. Sider is not shooting at all the last couple games. If you feel like going for the plus 155, I mean, I imagine it comes assist for him, but if I do that, he'll score 2 goals. So I'd probably stick with Point myself.
Yeah, it's funny. A goal is plus 625. So
Yes.
they're assuming it's going to be an assist if it happens.
He did score against Edmonton once last year, but his other 2 points were in assist form.
Oh man, that would just be brutal if he scored. That is a
Um,
good look though for him. The assist plus 155. Not a bad look at all.
no. Only other thing that I was looking through this morning, Draisaitl had such a dormant stretch there. Over the weekend, he really came alive with 12 shots on goal, 17 attempts, and he scored last game. I'm definitely worried. I do put a decent amount of weight in history against a team, and it's really Draisaitl. Um, he just doesn't shoot against Detroit. I don't know why. So if you're seeing that and think, huh, okay, he's back, he's shooting again, that was my hesitation there. So thought I'd point that out.
That's weird. Him and McDavid both not hitting their lines as often against Detroit. You would, yeah, just thought that would be an easier target for them, but I guess not.
Oh, look at that. If you missed my article earlier, Vander Kane is now at better odds for his shots. He's now plus 110 on DraftKings.
Hmm.
It's a
Wonder
nice,
why
nice
that is.
price. That's
Switch.
about all I was noticing from this one. I don't hate the over. I might play around with something there.
Wait, what were the lines last game for the Oilers? Do you know? Was Hyman on the top line, or was he with Kane and Draisaitl?
Um, I don't know.
Oh, okay, I'm seeing that line together now.
Looks like it was Kane, Draisaitl, Hyman, second line.
Okay, okay. All right, never mind.
All right, let's jump to the next game. Colorado, Minnesota. When I took my initial pass, thought both sides looked pretty okay for shots. Um, wasn't seeing a ton to be excited about goals necessarily, but I did like shots. I guess we kind of alluded to Rantanen, who's also sitting on 199 career goals. Um, he's got 3 goals his last 4 against Minnesota. I believe that stretches back even further. He loves playing Minnesota. Let me just bring up his extended game log because I'm on his shots, which also have now better odds than when I bet them, which is cool. But he's got four plus shots in 9 of his last 10 against Minnesota. He's got a goal in 6 of his last 8 against them as well, and he's just shooting a ton right now. He's over in 4 straight, 3 straight on the road. Really solid attempts. I thought his price was awesome, so I loaded him up this morning.
Yeah, that volume's really nice. He had a stretch in the middle of the season with just outrageous volume. I mean, when you look at his chart, it makes it look like his volume now isn't really that great, even though it is. He has 7, 9, 9, 8, 3, 8. So he's getting some good volume there. He had a stretch in the middle of the season where he was getting like what 12, 15 attempts or something like that. But when he gets the volume, he's definitely hitting his line. So I like seeing that spike recently up to 9 attempts, 7 attempts. And the history, yeah, it's there. He had 2 the last time he met with them, but prior to that, a lot of hits over his line. So that one does look pretty good. He hasn't scored in what, 5 games now. Um, that's the longest stretch of the season. I don't know. It seems like he's coming into a matchup with an opponent where he scored against them previously. He's on a little dry run right now, but the volume's there. So I think shots look good, but I wouldn't be surprised for this to be where he gets back into the goal column.
Yeah, I mean, I like starting Colorado. I mean, similar to Edmonton, they're averaging 35 per game on the road. Another not a location specific number. They've really been shooting a ton. Um, Minnesota's letting up over 31, which has kind of been my magic number to make a team a target. And Minnesota's also been handing out a ton of power plays lately. So Rantanen very involved there. Um, Curiously, Lekkonen's been leading the team in power play shots last 10. I mean, it's only one more than McKinnon or Rantanen, but I was surprised to see that name at the top of the list this morning.
No, wow,
I,
yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Everyone on Colorado's shooting right now. I mean, everyone's pretty juiced besides Rantanen. I mean, Rodriguez 4 shots could be a good look. He's hit that in 5 straight. Nichushkin's shooting. I thought even McKinnon looks pretty solid, and he has some nice games against Minnesota. I just liked Rantanen.
Rodriguez, geez,
He's crazy right now.
his volume's like,
5.6 per game in his last 5.
but it's all on goal. His last 3 games, he hasn't missed an attempt. Five
Yeah,
shots, 7 shots, 4 shots, all on goal, and then 6 for 7 before that, and then 6 for 6. Holy crap! That's that's a, that's some crazy efficiency right there. I don't know if there's going to be some regression where he starts missing, but it's a hell of a run by Rodriguez right there. I understand the minus 170, just getting
yeah.
them all on net,
I wonder what his 4 price is. Maybe like plus 130.
and only one goal.
Yeah,
Only one goal in this span where he's barely missing any shots on. They're getting all on goal, but he's not scoring. It's interesting. I wonder if there's going to be some guys in Colorado who break through tonight.
and for what it's worth, I mean, this is his first year in Colorado. They went to Minnesota at the beginning of the year, and Rodriguez had 5 shots for whatever that's worth. So, yeah, I think he's a fine look. Maybe ladder him up at 4 at, I imagine, the plus 130 range.
It's crazy. It's not even his highest volume of the season, but it's definitely the best like efficiency and shot output like on goal. That's crazy. Gonna have to pay attention to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been up there, and even though he's on the second line, he's been getting a couple power play shots. Should they get 3, 4, 5 chances, he'll definitely be out there for a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice look there.
I didn't hate looking at Minnesota either. Especially Colorado also, fresh off a shot fest game just like Tampa Bay, because they were in that game also. But Colorado's been a good target for shots, allowing 34.2 on the road. They've been allowing a lot to defensemen lately. So I think this is only available on Barstool, but if you have it, if you want to make an account, because Barstool does have a lot of unique bets in the hockey market. So I think you should have an account. If you don't, I liked Jared Spurgeon shots on Minnesota. He has his line was 1.5. I paired him with what's his face, Marner. He's got 2 shots in 10 of his last 12. I believe 6 of his last 7 at home, 2 straight against Colorado. Solid volume. I mean, he's getting his attempts off, and I mean, you just look at defensemen against Colorado recently. It's made it a target for me. So I went with Spurgeon there. I was looking for him or Addison's line somewhere, and I found it at Barstool. So I paired him with Marner at plus 140.
Yeah. his volume not as crazy as most of the people we look for, but for two shots, his volume's as consistent as it has been all season too. He's had big games here and there, but definitely the recent stretch has had a nicer floor of attempts in there, so that's nice to see. Um, yeah, that I was gonna just bring back Nichushkin too. Uh, I'm surprised he's at minus 145 for his shots, and some other guys are more juiced. He's been really solid this season, 71% hit rate over 2.5 shots, and then on the road he's 9 for 12, and he had 3 last time he played Minnesota. He's got 5 and 4 his last couple games. I think that seemed pretty reasonable today. I'm surprised he wasn't a little bit more juiced actually after a 5 shot on goal game.
Yeah, I've been playing in the last couple games. Yeah, he's been awesome this year. I just I don't know. There was a lot of twos and ones in his game log against Minnesota, which again, it's not everything, but sometimes when another guy looks really great and has a good history, that's just always going to break the tie for me. So
Yeah, I guess with him, I do like looking at the history, but I think with Nichushkin, it's kind of important to look. A lot of his production is just ramped up last season, um, especially the end of last season, and then into this season. And he only, he played them once last year and had 2 shots, so that is fair. But I think maybe back further than that, uh, yeah, his role has changed a lot. He's definitely become more of a focal point. So if I'm looking at this season, volume wise and just his efficiency, seems like it could be an okay spot. And I was just surprised by the minus 140, minus 146 on that line. Seems low for his hit rate this year.
yeah, and he was like minus 170 last night.
Yeah, I know he had a crazy history against Tampa Bay, but they had more matchups against each other than in the recent time frame where he's been more productive. So it also made a little bit more sense that he was having bigger games against them too. I don't think it's a terrible spot for that price. That's what's really jumping out to me. Just a lot more guys are way more juiced than that, and they don't have 70% hit rates. So
I did want to mention one more thing about Spurgeon that I wish I played around with earlier, just so I could have, when I dropped it in Go Boys earlier, I could have articulated it. But something I don't do enough on Cash is filter guys by a base of shot attempts.
mm-hmm.
Because Spurgeon's been getting 4 attempts basically every game lately, and it's just you bump up his shot attempts to at least 4 in the last 2 years, and he's getting 2 shots in 82% of games, which is quite a rate. So I just wanted to throw that out there too, in case you're thinking, who the hell is Spurgeon? I can't bet on him. That looks real nice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. His chart just it doesn't. We talk about these guys with volume, 9 attempts, 7 attempts, 10 attempts. Some of these guys. So then we talk about Spurgeon, and we're like, oh, 4 attempts. It doesn't sound like too enticing, but when you look at his volume, he wasn't getting that in a consistent manner. But you could see recently when he's getting it, pretty much every game he's getting 2 shots. So I do really like that angle if you have it available. See, it's a good one.
Why don't we move on? In the interest of time, to what should be a fun one, Buffalo and Anaheim. This is certainly, I mean, Buffalo, anyone playing Anaheim is going to look good. Again, I feel like we say it every time, but you don't need us to tell you that. To me, I just went right to Tage Thompson, and who has not been hitting his shots at all. But I'm just seeing a team in Buffalo who's, flirting with that 8th seed in the East. They've lost 4 straight games. It's time to take out their frustrations on the Ducks, which is just the ideal place to do such a thing. And even though Tage has only hit once in his last 8 games, his 3.5 number. I mean, I'm just looking at his last couple games. He's got 7 attempts, 10 attempts in his last four. He had a 2 attempt in there against Carolina, but he's either getting a ton of blocks, he's missing the net, but guy's still shooting the puck, and I just think it's time he kind of puts the team on his back here for a game they need a win, and they have to get the puck on net here against the Ducks, and every single team is able to do that. I mean, Anaheim's letting up 43 per game right now at home in their last 10, which is just ridiculous. So I said, screw the hit rate. I'm loading up the stud to get his shots.
Yeah, I think this has to be the spot where he has a big game. I know the last time he played them, he had 3 shots, but yeah, I think now it's coming. You see his volume coming back up, so that's nice to see. Just seems like a good spot against Anaheim with that in mind for him to start getting him back on net. And yeah, I think his goal looks really good too. Um, some
Odds got
places
better.
have it plus money, I think.
Yeah, plus 104 FanDuel now. It was minus like 105 earlier.
Yeah, he's started off the season way more consistent, and then he's kind of had a stretch with not too many goals. He does have a few lately, but his road chart isn't too awful. When you look at it at the beginning of the season, he had a little stretch with no goals, but after that, he's been pretty consistent. Actually, get a goal, not get a goal, and kind of bounce back and forth. Some games with or some runs with multiple goals, but he's gone 2 straight road games without one. And he didn't get one against the Kings last game, but he had one against Calgary the game before that. So just looking at lately, he's starting to like we see the volume coming back up, which led to 1 goal against Calgary. I just think if he can keep that volume and just looking at his road chart, seems like a nice spot for kind of to balance out there, end up on the score sheet. I know I kind of like looking at that when I look at goals, just guys who can produce, and then you see maybe a stretch, or it doesn't even have to be too many games. It could just be a game or two where they're not scoring, but the volume's there. I I always like kind of following that. I just feel like it's if the volume they keep shooting, just statistics say they're going to see positive regression at some point. So this looks like a really good spot for that to happen for Tage.
Yeah, I mean, and you had made a good point earlier this morning. We were chatting through some things. I mean, his shots right now are minus 120. His goals now plus 104. Both of those have hit in a 46% rate this year. So if you simply just go by how often something happens, the goal is conceivably maybe the better value play. Um, I don't hate someone putting a decent amount of eggs in the Tage basket. Take his goal, take his 3.5, take his 5 shots. Um, I feel like he could just really go off tonight.
This is the spot. I mean, that's pretty much what's coming down to on paper. This is the matchup you would want when you're looking for to have a big game. So he definitely looks good. And I know last game, I think they were moving lines around a bit. I think he's back with uh, Tuck and Skinner this game, if I'm not mistaken. So they had good chemistry. I like Tuck in this game. I mean, I think a lot of people probably do like Tuck most games in the season. He's been pretty consistent. Sometimes he'll have a down game, but he's bounced back. I mean, he hasn't had 2 games under in a while. He went over last game, but I see a 0 shot game before that, and it makes you maybe get a little hesitant. But he goes on these runs. He'll miss a game and then hit 3 straight, and then miss a game and hit 4 straight, or something like that. Good spot against the Ducks. He had 4 shots and 2 points against them last time they played. I don't even hate that if you can do one of those same game parlays for him to hit his shots and get a point. If you like him tonight, seems he's got points more often on the road than at home percentage wise, and just shooting a lot. It's been nice hit rate all season. So I was looking at Tuck as a parlay piece today.
Yeah, I think Tuck looks great. Um, Super steady. I think Darlene is worth flagging. Tuck's obviously they're a great shot target everywhere, but you really get peppered by defensemen. And Darlene's been picking it back up again. Even though the volume isn't crazy, he's finding it. That's the only scary part is some low attempt games in there, especially for a defenseman. But he's hitting 6 straight on the road. Um, yeah, all his hits lately have been on the road, and that's where he is tonight. I wish that he's just got a lot of 3, 4, 5 attempt games in there, which scare me. But it's the Ducks, and even though he doesn't have a good history against them either, this is the type of situation I'm willing to look past that. I know it's kind of picking and choosing when it's okay to not put weight into history, but um, I think he's probably a safe bet to get 3.
Yeah. AO in the chat saying to Tuck shots point same game parlay, which you could do on Bet 365 if anybody has that and is not having login issues with that. That would be a good bet there. I would definitely jump on that. I don't know what the price is right now, though. I can't check, but I'm looking that way. Or like I think I mentioned it earlier, maybe Tuck shots and Larkin point or something, maybe a point parlay or something. But I like those two guys today. I'll probably be on them in some way.
I also think, yeah, I like Buffalo to score too. I mean, they're averaging 3.3 on the road last 10. Anaheim's allowing 4.2 at home, so that got it on my radar. I'd like to flag Olafson's point, however you say it. He's on the second line. He has a point in 7 of his last 10, 9 total. On the road, pretty steady as well with a point in 5 of 7. And against Anaheim, he's got a couple 2-point games in there. He scored twice against them a month ago. He's only minus 110 for a point. I'm thinking maybe I'd do the Buffalo team total, but seeing such a reasonable price for a guy who keeps producing, um, that's another on my radar. He's got a nice
Okay.
baseline of attempts there too. He's shooting about 5 times a game lately. So
Yeah, and I was looking at the lines. If this is correct, I'm seeing that he's on the second line with Cousins. So that's more enticing. Just I know he's been on lower lines with other players who I wouldn't consider as good as Cousins has been. So I like that. I like that today against the Ducks. If he's on that second line, he's producing well lately. That's a good price.
should mention, I think Anaheim can find some shots as well. Buffalo hasn't been the tightest defending shots. The only one that caught my eye was Zegras, who's been pretty steady at home lately with 3 hits in a row. And he had 4 against Buffalo a month ago. So he looked interesting to me, but I wrote down maybe Zegras, so I usually just need to stay off when I write maybe. That was the only one that really stood out to me.
I think the points you raised are all good. I think for me, it's just I would want better than minus 120 for him.
Yeah.
Just he can hit with lower volume. It's just with these lower volume guys, I feel like they should just be better prices. I don't know. It's just it's so much riskier when you got a guy who's got a 2.5 line shooting 4 times a game. He takes a first shot and it misses. You're really just sitting there like, oh gosh, like he's gonna really can't have too much more room for error after that. So I just would like to see a better price on him. That's pretty much my only thing there. Some of these guys can hit. I just think that the books are being a little ridiculous with the pricing.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Henrique has been rolling. A lot of his production was on the road, which scared me off. He's at plus 110. He's got 3 shots or more in 7 of his last 9. And he also hit against Buffalo a month ago and had 5 against him last year. But I don't know. It just goes way down when he's in Anaheim. I don't know if that's just because there's only so many shots to go around and they're letting up 43 per game.
He's only hit in 5 of 23 home games.
It's crazy.
That's
And then you look
disgusting.
at his recent road chart, and he's hit on the road in 6 of his last 7 with a ton of attempts.
Yeah, and then they, for whatever reason, he didn't shoot against Chicago, and then they came home for the game against Pittsburgh, and he didn't shoot again. Then they hit the road to Vegas, and he's like, "All right, back to business." He shot. That's crazy. So yeah, don't like that. Don't like the whatever's going on home ice with Henrique.
No. All right, let's jump to Rangers Canucks last game of the night. Um, Definitely love Rangers goals here myself. I mean, Vancouver is just horrible. Um, New York has looked great, especially with the Tarasenko addition. Really makes them quite the offense. And they've been fleeting lately, but this is certainly a big power play edge that I see. Vancouver's penalty kills remained horrible. New York's is back up there, scoring at a steady clip, and it's made even better by Vancouver handing out 3.2 power plays per game last 10. So I like them to score. I joined AO on a Mika goal. He's been the highest volume shooter on the power play, which certainly helps. But he just got a goal, and he's got 5 goals in his last 4 games,
All since the break, yeah.
and that includes a game against Vancouver. He scored 2 of his last 3 against them. It could come 5-on-5,
Man,
but I really like. It's funny. It
it
didn't
did
come
come
on the
five of
power
five.
play last game, but I just love seeing how much he's shooting lately on the power play in a smash spot. So
Yeah, that is. I was just looking in. I was looking at the power play points because some of these odds are. I mean, you got Kreider at 215. He's got 3 in his last 4. Of course, the miss was Vancouver. Mika, he's got some power play points, but missed against Vancouver. So, I mean, it's not to say they can't do it tonight. Those are some nice odds considering how bad Vancouver's penalty kill is. I mean, Zibanejad for plus 160 for a power play point in this matchup doesn't seem awful. It's just a little bummer that 3 games ago they didn't get anything done against Vancouver.
no, I
But
know,
otherwise,
but that
those
just to me
prices are.
just means this is the time to happen.
I love his goal though. I mean, it already dropped. I think it was like plus 150 earlier. Now I'm seeing like 124. Uh, but yeah, since the break, 5 goals, goal in every game. And Vancouver is definitely one to target up at 4 goals allowed on the season game. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not. I think the odds are actually pretty reasonable. I might have to play it in some form, but New York's team total seems like a pretty safe bet here. I mean, they've scored 4+ in 5 straight. I mean, since the break, they've scored 5, 4, 6, 6. One of those sixes was against Carolina, which I find the most impressive. And then Vancouver, just horrible. They've let up since the break 4 goals in all 5 games, 5 goals in 4 of those games. So I'd be pretty surprised if Rangers can't find 4 goals here. And I believe the odds for them to hit that are about minus 120, which seems pretty reasonable.
I mean, is it Cheadle? Is that how you pronounce it? Am I saying right?
Heedle, yeah.
Cheadle. He's got. I mean, he didn't get the point last game, but he was rolling before that. And I know a lot of it at home when you look at his home chart. But I mean, he's still at minus 112 for a point, and I'm still seeing him on the top power play. Not that he has that many power play points, but just saying, he was rolling with the points and scored a goal against Vancouver. He's still at minus 112, so that's a pretty reasonable price if you're expecting Rangers goals in this one.
For sure. We should probably transition to best bets real quick. Just to recap, Let me see. I mean, I think we certainly made it clear, or at least I love Tage tonight to step up here for a sliding Buffalo team. Um, really like Rantanen's volume and history against Minnesota, and um, Evander Kane's volume, I think, is awesome. But I also already shared those plays for people who come here and read my articles, which I appreciate those people. So a couple other ones I think I'm going to be playing in some form are our Cider Point, um, Rangers team total, and probably Olafson Point. Probably a half unit on each of those, but those are three others that I'm definitely liking.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cider point as well. I just think, looking at the whole season, you would want he doesn't have a crazy hit rate, but then when you just look recently over this stretch of games that he's had recently, just seeing plus 115 for Cider's point just looks great to me. He's looked awesome, has it in 3 straight against Edmonton, so I really like that. And then because of that, I like Larkin a lot. I've already mentioned that. I think Larkin could have another big game. I definitely like his point more than his shots. And then Tuck as well. I'll probably end up doing a maybe Tuck shots and a Larkin point parlay or something like that, just because Tuck's point is over minus 200. Um, and I think his shots look pretty good as well. And that's at minus 160. So I lean that way for him. And I was surprised to see Larkin's point at minus 180. Usually a lot of these guys' points are over 200. So minus 180 seems pretty good to me. I'm going to do that with Tuck shots.
Yeah, I think that's a great combo. I don't know if we have that many people listening, but Rangers team total odds just got worse before I could do anything. Very cool. All
Well,
right.
then look at those point plays or goals or whatever for better value.
Yeah. Pick a play of the day. We gave him his shine earlier, but we're both on Barrett Hayton over 2.5 shots on goal for Arizona. We were able to grab that plus 130 on Barstool, courtesy of Pickett being able to find the best prices. It's still plus 120 there, which is the best price on the market. So definitely would recommend hopping over there if you want to join us. We like the bounce back spot against a Tampa team that hasn't been too stingy lately and maybe a little tired tonight.
Yeah, there's really just not too many guys on the Coyotes to look at. So when Tampa's coming to town, who's loose with shots lately, you got to look at those guys who've been producing lately, and that's definitely Hayton. So I agree right there. All right.
Cool. All right. Yeah. 6 games. Should be a fun night. We will be back here tomorrow because um, we know everyone wants to see our faces twice a week and we weren't here Monday. So we'll be back tomorrow, I believe noon. So good luck tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Yep. Good luck, guys. Have a good one.